Thank you so much. I'm Rocket Williams. I generally just go by Rocket because I don't recognize my own last name when people say it. But anyway, I appreciate y'all coming out. I want to talk to you today about something different, I think, than we normally talk about. And I want to talk about the financial impacts of being experience-driven. One of the things that I really hate when people talk about this particular area is they think it's all touchy-feely. I actually had a member of my own board of directors mention that, well, that's just touchy-feely. And I said, no, it's really not. It's actually about our customer. And he looked at me and said, well, if it's about our customer, you should be able to put numbers to it. And I said, I can do that for you. We went through the exercise and we had some really great results that I'm going to share with you today. But that's the spin I'd like to take on this particular topic, is that this is not just about, to be honest, touchy-feely. This isn't just about how it looks, but it's about what's the benefit to our customers. And hopefully everybody in the room knows when you benefit your customers, that actually benefits your bottom line. There is a true cost or benefit analysis with being experience-driven. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about us. You get the whole marketing thing, but this is very relevant to what we're doing. But we focus generally on making cloud solutions automate financial close systems. Basically, we handle a lot of the numbers. My clients are your CFOs. We operate all over the world. We've got 1,700 customers in 100 different countries. We touch almost every industry that we can think of. And we do this really from the accounting side of the house. We don't have the exciting software. When I go home and tell my parents about how excited I am at the accounting software I made, they're like, oh, please stop. We don't care, but it's okay. But what we've been doing is we've been trying to transform organizations across the globe, automating their process, the 1,700 companies I talked about. But our goal is to deliver increased efficiency and effectiveness and reduce cost and transparency and governance. We're talking about a lot of the things here that when it comes to the world of SOC compliance, things like that, or accounting, that's where we want to get to. One of the things I think happens in this particular industry, in this particular type of software, is that people forget the people who are using it are people too. They're operators, they do things, they work around software, and it's important for them to have that experience. If you think about it, everybody, we put accounting software, it's about like how you drive. People used to think, well, driving a car is just driving a car. But the truth is, if you look at some of the most successful auto manufacturers, my favorite is Tesla. When you get into a Tesla, it's an experience. It's not just, I've got a steering wheel and a shifter. So moving on, so this is where I want to talk about our numbers. How do you measure financial benefit? One of the formulas I learned early on in business school was, and I don't have an MBA, so you don't have to worry, I'm not going to make up words up here, is that we measure financial benefit in two ways. Number one, we look at soft benefits and hard benefits. We looked at cost avoidance and revenue protection. The reason we call those soft is it's not really something that you can count on and say, oh, this is the exact number, such as what cost did I not incur, or what revenue did I not lose. The hard benefits are ones where you can look at it and say, I actually had a cost reduction, or we had revenue growth tied to something we put out. So this is what I want us to think about as we go through our journey this morning is, these are actual measurements. When I go to my board of directors, we actually talk about these things of, we had these soft benefits, we had this much cost avoidance, we have this much estimated revenue protection. They really love to hear about cost reduction and revenue growth. And I found when I was talking to them about being experience-driven, this is what made sense to them. So hopefully today you're going to walk out of here thinking about some of these tools, because ultimately as we all report into people, whether it's CEO or board of directors, what have you, this is a language they understand. And I see a few nodding heads going, yeah, I see numbers and I get that. So one of the things that we talk about the experience-driven board is when we first started this, we looked at a lot of the different people who've talked about, the customer. This is the one that always sticks out to me. A customer is the most important visitor on our premises. He's not dependent upon us, we're dependent upon him. He's not an interruption of our work. He's the purpose of it. He's not an outsider to our business, he's a part of it. We're not doing him a favor by serving him, he's doing us a favor by giving us the opportunity to. Any business out here, if you're not thinking like this, then you're probably out of business. There's tons of quotes that you can talk about, but all the best people I talk to, they focus on the customer. Trendtech, we actually said this is something we need to take to heart. And so we looked at a couple of different things. First of all, we spun up a customer advisory board where we fly people in from all over the world just to hear what they have to say. We pay it, we go to different places, we put it on our own nickel, because the best source of information about how we're doing is them. Now, ideally, there's two ways. Number one, they give us feedback, and they also continue to use our business or not to. So that really is the best source of information. The other thing we opened up was an idea portal. And what we said was, this is for any customer, any employee, anybody who has a relationship with us. We want to give you an opportunity to give us feedback on how we're doing. And this was very exciting for us, because when we opened it up, we thought, well, nobody's going to use this. But we received thousands of pieces of feedback. A lot of it was duplicate or what have you. What we generally heard, which we love to hear, is that they like our software and the value we're delivering for them. But the number one thing that we found was usability. That was a common thread, was, I don't like how this works, or this is something you can do better. And part of me was like, I never want to hear that. I always want to hear just nothing but good things. But the truth is, we make a joke, it was our aha moment. The software we use is called aha for the ideas. But we said, okay, this is an area we need to focus on. That with what we're doing and what we've done, we can't continue to operate without thinking about that customer first. Not that we haven't in the past, not that we're not trying to do the best. I mean, we make accounting software, people care about our numbers right. But I've always said this, if you have a tool nobody wants to use, you have a useless tool. I'm not saying that nobody don't want to use our tool, but it's something to keep in mind. This is one of the cartoons I picked for this, is that customers reveal things to you, and you have to be willing to listen. And that's, as you hopefully go back and we talk to your leaders, things like that, is that your customers will talk to you one way or another. I always say give them the opportunity to, because if you're not listening, if you're not giving them the opportunity, they have a strong vote, and that is with their dollars. So we decided to make some investments. Outside of resources, we pulled in some outside resources, which is an outlay of capital, and then we also refocused some of our developers on this. When we hear this kind of information, we're definitely going to jump on it. So what we did was, here are our results. We put in our customers. We actually got 300 new ideas from the idea capture from AHA. 13% of our items had 2 or more votes in under 6 months, and this created a transparent process for our stakeholders. So I want to stop here, and I want to talk about this. This isn't the financial results and things like that, but this actually told us a lot about our business right here. The other thing is, we took that user experience. We now made our customers our partners. They have a stake in this. When we go back to the Gandhi statement of, hey, they're part of our business, they're not just some outside thing, we brought our customers in. These are customers that the reality is we saw increased retention rates with them. We saw expanded sales, and it was literally nothing more than giving them a voice. We all use the term voice of the customer, but the truth is, what are you actually doing to have voice of the customer? That's one of the questions I'm going to ask you, is because there's a financial benefit. That customer experience, they want to talk to you as a general rule. I've never seen customers who don't want to talk to you. We delivered some of the top functionality that we came across, ones that had 1,000+ votes. We created some innovation. One of the things that we came into our product was, somebody said, we'd like Excel-like functionality. So we tasked a few people. They came up with something in 48 hours that we sent out into a beta, literally to customers. It shipped 2 weeks ago, and we've gotten just immense amounts of feedback. There's nothing at any point that anyone in my company said, we should have done this. Not my product owners, not my usability people, because we just didn't think about it. It wasn't our idea. We went to our customers and they said, hey, here's what I like. And that was kind of our aha moment. Oh, that's what we needed to hear. It actually created a couple things, our beta program, and I'm going to show you a video in a moment here because we like videos, but one of the other benefits that we created was, and it's a side benefit, we now have a beta program. We had a new item to send out that wasn't really ready for prime time. And we said, well, but we want to get into the hands of customers. I want to show my customers we're listening, that their feedback is of vital importance. So we said, well, we have to spin up a beta program. If you're making software or if you're making a product and you don't have some form of beta program for early adopters to get people to see things and get rapid feedback, come see me. We need to talk about that, how you should be getting that rapid feedback. Up until this point, we didn't have one as a company. And the truth is, we're now starting to see the benefits. I've had customers engaging with us and saying, hey, in your next beta, could you deliver this? I'm like, sure, we'll jump right on that. But so these are things that we actually had that are strong benefits to us. I'm going to tie this back now to the 4 points I talked about earlier. So I talked earlier about what I did was we made a capital outlay for contractors. We actually spent an additional $300,000 to address some of the usability questions that we had. That right there is a financial, I can put dollars on it. And what I actually said to the board was, we spent $300,000. That's $300,000 I could have spent on something else. When I talk about cost reduction, there's $300,000 I could have reduced in my costs if we had put these things in place earlier. Opportunity for cost of not working our backlog. So when I talked earlier about soft costs, it's hard to measure. That's actually almost a little bit of a lie, because I said if I'd put the 3 contractors that I hired for $300,000 plus the team, here are the other things that I could have gotten in our backlog that were actually important to our customers. So I can actually put a financial dollar on not being experience driven necessarily first. Not saying that we weren't always, but we didn't focus. I have actual costs that I've taken to my board. The other component of this is the revenue. Revenue protection. We had satisfied customers. Well, how do you measure that? Well, we actually went and looked at their customer sat scores, CSAT scores. And we found that once we introduced several of these things, we said, okay, look, here are the customers that went from having a 60% score or what have you to an increased score. Some of them went from like 20% jump in their points, which was fantastic. We actually love to see that kind of improvement. If you take that and say, how much money are these people spending with us? Well, that's revenue protection right there. We can actually look at it and say, I saw this improvement the customer were more likely to retain. Well, that's actually a dollar value. Revenue growth. We have a better application to sell, and one of the things that came out of this was we have a customer advocacy program. And it's basically when we're trying to sell for other customers, we have a group of customers that have agreed to basically vouch for us, for lack of a better term. They actually tell, this is the good, the bad, we don't script it, we don't do anything, they're just willing to talk to us about it. We actually saw a significant increase in the customer advocacy program, people willing to come talk about our software. And what was great about that is we've actually seen how that drives our growth. So that's actually another thing where we can actually say, we've seen growth based upon having this program, and some of our customers will tell us, oh yeah, once I talked to so-and-so at this other company, then I realized, hey, you're good guys, you're good to go, we want to use your software. These are things that we actually can put numbers to. And that's actually what the primary point that I wanted to leave you with was that when you're thinking about experience driven, it doesn't have to be touchy-feely. If you do metrics, you apply information to it, you're talking to your customers, you can actually pull out these numbers. And I don't know of a single board, if I went to them and said, hey, by the way, I saved $300,000, or we increased this much functionality, that they're not going to be happy. They're really happy when we talk about, we protected the revenue from these customers, or we created a program and we saw this much percentage increase in growth. I mean, anybody have a board that's like, that's a terrible idea, don't do that? I ask because I want to come work for your company because that would be awesome. But I do want you to think about this from the financial aspects. Experience driven can drive your numbers. It can drive your bottom line. And I wholeheartedly believe that. I think most of the people I know that are involved with the board and other groups will tell you the same thing. But hopefully you'll leave here and maybe you'll remember some of these things, and I'm always available to ask questions. But when you're doing your presentations, when you're trying to sell things, this is actually a way to do it, is to actually look at hard numbers. We are running close on time. Am I good on time still? Okay. So I want to show you all a little bit. One of the things that came out of this is we went into innovation. We talked, actually had a couple gentlemen over there talk about innovation. We realized that we're getting this great feedback from customers. How do we actually get our employees? So we ran what we call code games. We actually shut the company down for 48 hours. And for 48 hours, I let the developers go work on any idea they wanted. And it was amazing. What they did is they scoured what was given to us from the customers, and that's what they went to work on. The Excel functionality that we talked about came out of that. I'll show you a little video about. Welcome to Code Games. one of the things that came out of this was we went to the video, and then we actually talked to a lot of our customers afterwards. And this is, everybody loves this. This is all the happy sheets. But every one of these came after we started working with our customers and thinking about being user driven. When I read some of these things, and my favorite is Torchmark. I can't express enough how much we appreciate Trintech's team follow-ups, communications, continued efforts to ensure that we're successful. That was putting that customer first. When I read that, that's what speaks to me. I'm like, okay, here's a customer who's thrilled with what we did, how we put them first. And that is, that's a customer that was a new customer. I have very much faith they're going to be a long-term customer. That's the kind of thing that we're excited about. As I go through this, I'm going the wrong way. Apologize. Just to wrap up, when you think about the financial aspects, you should be trying to meet all 4 of these. Now, sometimes you're not going to be able to provide numbers on them, but using the numbers is important. The financial benefits are real hard numbers. The other thing is that user experience first is a value driver. It is something that adds value to your business. One of the things I did at Microsoft is we look at where we put our investments in software, and that was actually one of my jobs, was to evaluate things. And we had a really wonderful complex formula that said, we think it's going to do this. When I was there, we didn't necessarily think as much about the user experience. After I had left, I came back a couple of years later as a customer, and one of the first things they said was, we want that user experience. It is a value driver to our business. And this is a company that makes $50 billion a year. I mean, profit. They're not hurting. But they actually looked at it and said, if we want to continue to make $50 billion a year, that customer is now one of the top things they look at in their evaluations of what they do with software, how they build software, things like that. So that is, I would leave with this. Go with the numbers that you can show, but also go with, it's a value driver for our business. And that's a tough thing to sell sometimes, because people do see us as touchy-feely. I mean, and I'll be honest, it's a terrible thing, because they don't realize the actual value to it financially. I started out as a software developer. To be honest, I wasn't even a front-end developer. I'm a back-end data integration guy. Once I saw the benefit, I'm just used to ones and zeros, show me data, that kind of stuff. I saw the benefit and said, oh, wait a minute. This actually meets my personal desire for numbers. So with that, I'm going to wrap up here and just see if you guys have any questions, anything I can do for you before I get out of your way. No, I'm out of here. Thank you so much.